Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Semi-Pro. I'm your host, Josh Clements, or Britt Edit.
And I'm Dalton Barrett, a.k.a. Barrett Digital, and today's episode of Semi-Pro is brought to you by those people on Twitter who are always giving inside scoops who don't actually have any inside scoops. They're just the best, and we love them with our whole heart.
They are my number one most reliable news source.
Oh, yes. Whenever they talk about what the bat suit is going to look like in Matt Reeves' Batman, you have to take it as fact, because they tweeted about it.
Whenever they say, I'm hearing rumors that the Obi-Wan show might be cancelled.
Well, that was a troll page, right?
Account.
Right, so that one doesn't count. We're talking about the real deal here, Josh. We're talking about, I'm hearing rumors that the Batsuit in Matt Reeves' Batman is supposed to be inspired by Batman Noel. And then a week later, they're like, turns out the rumors about Batman Noel were false. Now it's supposed to look like insert other comic book suit here. Those are my favorite people. They really know what they're talking about.
I know the ones you're talking about. The ones who, when it comes out that whatever they're reporting is actually fake, they're like, that wasn't me, that was my sources. Their sources happen to be Reddit.
That Superman suit that leaked online this week on Reddit, very clearly fake.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's kind of sloppy looking.
Yeah, it's real bad. And there's a Photoshop cursor in the screen that no one seemed to notice. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they took something from one of my pieces and cut it to make the Superman suit. And when I first saw it, I didn't notice that, but, it's whatever.
I was going to say, I kind of recognized the stance from somewhere, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I've used that stance before, which, concept artists can do, but, yeah, decide for yourself.
Yeah, whoever made it, they really didn't do a great job, and
They should be ashamed.
They really should be. All right, so
they should host a podcast.
They should host a podcast. Maybe start an Instagram page. Maybe whatever. Let's see. We're doing our top movies of the decade, and how we're doing this.
Probably the last time that we're gonna have before we get back to sort of more regular programming.
Right. The way we're going to do this is we're not just going to name our favorite movies from the decade. We've taken each year and then assigned each year its own movie. And so we're going to start in 2010. 10 years ago, Josh, I'm going to let you give your favorite movie of 2010.
My favorite movie of 2010 is none other than Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Which is a great film.
Yeah, I love the movie to death. I think it oozes style. And beyond the amazing visuals, the fantastic soundtrack, every character is so perfectly cast. It just the representation of the film about the kind of hold that your past relationships can have on your life. The graphic novel it's based on. It really just every time I can watch it endlessly, and I'll find something new. I'll find something funny again. Edgar Wright is possibly one of my favorite directors because every single one of his movies is, I would say to a degree, flawless.
I would agree. I think Edgar Wright is one of those filmmakers that just, he knows what he's doing. And I don't think he's made a bad movie. Baby Driver was great. I'm trying to think back to all of Edgar Wright's movies.
Yeah, started off with Shaun of the Dead. He used to do a TV series called Spaced, which just had its 21st anniversary, I think.
Wow.
Which is it's fantastic. It's the sort of first outing for Edgar Wright, Sean Pegg, and not Sean Pegg. That was it. I was getting confused with Shaun of the Dead. But it's the first outing of him, Nick Frost, all of that lot. It's really good. It's incredibly British.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense since you like it because you're a communist.
Right, naturally.
No, I love the Scott Pilgrim movie. I love Edgar Wright. I can completely understand and see why it was on your list because it's a great movie and it's timeless too. It's one of those that just kind of keeps it's both very dated in the early to mid 2000s. Because it came out in 2010. It's both very dated in that time period and very timeless at the same time, which I think is a really interesting thing that movie was able to pull off. There's not a whole lot to talk about it, though. I mean, everything that we want to say about this movie has already been said.
No, like I said, it really is, to a degree, just perfect. Plus, it takes place in Canada, which in itself is, well, it doesn't exist, and it's timeless.
And it's a joke. Canada's a joke. Anyway.
What's your film of the 2010?
2010 for me is True Grit. I'm a big Western fan, and I grew up watching Westerns with a lot of my family, and my granddad specifically liked Western movies, and so I'd seen the original True Grit several times, and this remake just knocks it out of the park. And I think in terms of remakes, it's probably the best one I've ever seen. It's perfectly acted. It's very well paced for a Western, and the fact that it's a Western that's that good that came out in 2010 is really quite the accomplishment. Jeff Bridges is in it, and anything Jeff Bridges is in, sign me up, because I love hearing that velvety voice. But yeah, True Grit was great, especially as a remake, and I can't stress that enough, because a lot of people don't even know it is a remake, but it is one of those remakes that's a remake of a good movie that manages to do it better, which is why it made my list for the best movie of 2010. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. I saw it ages ago. I'm not as big of a Western fan of you. I've seen a few. I've seen Once Upon a Time in America. I think I've seen The Man with No Name and a Fistful of Dollars,
Which are also great.
and then I've seen, yeah, they're fantastic. But I remember watching True Grit because it was probably my first Western I ever saw, and it still holds its place. It's probably one of my favorites. I mean, it's got Haley Steinfeld, Jeff Bridges, and Matt Damon in the lead, with an early Josh Brolin as the antagonist, and it's just
Right.
it is fantastic. I still need to see Bone Tomahawk,
Right.
but as far as like modern westerns go, that is, I'd say almost perfect, if not perfect.
No, I would agree. Like I said, if you've seen the original, this one just becomes instantly better for some reason, because the original is good, but the fact that this one was able to make it just better is awesome, and that's what a remake should do. It should add to the original, and it was just really neat that this one was able to do that. What's your movie for? We're going to kind of go through these a little faster than we did our last week's show where we did our movies of the year. We're going to try to hold this down a little bit. What's your movie for 2011?
I'm cheating on this. It's a bit of a tie because I couldn't decide. It was either going to be First Class or Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I think, on the spot, I'm probably going to have to go with First Class.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's actually interesting because mine is Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, good. We got a nice split. But yeah, I mean, I love both of these films. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is one of the few movies that actually kind of made me tear up.
Yes.
It's the part where he's in the jail and he like draws his window and shit, and I'm like, it gets to me. But I mean, I think they are both just brilliant. First Class, I think, wins a few points for me because I grew up watching the X-Men, so I'm far more established with them than I am with something like Planet of the Apes, which I think I've only seen the Marky Mark one, which, yeah, we don't talk about that.
That's the worst of all of them.
But yeah, I mean, Fassbender and McAvoy knock it out of the park. They are insane. You've got Jennifer Lawrence when she actually gave a crap about movies, so that was great. I'm blanking on his name. Kevin Bacon as the villain is also just fantastic. It's, as far as like prequels go to an established franchise, it's one of my favorites, and it kind of redefines the X-Men genre. Of course, after Days of Future Past, it all went downhill, but that's beside the point.
Well, but I think Days of Future Past is peak. That's peak X-Men for me.
Yeah.
I think it's the best Fox-produced X-Men movie that we saw.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you like about Rise of the Planet of the Apes that put it over the top of like First Class and the other films?
Well, see, for me, I had to have an Apes movie on my list because that's my favorite trilogy that I've seen in forever. The Planet of the Apes trilogy is beautifully done. And the last two movies done by Matt Reeves, of course, who's now handling Batman. Those two are my favorite. I prefer them to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but they just happened to come out in years where something else trumped them for me. So I wanted to make sure I got an Apes movie on my list. And while this is my least favorite of the trilogy, it's still so good. James Franco's performance in that, I love seeing James Franco wherever he's at. Explaining this story of the Planet of the Apes story in the way that they did was great, because the original Planet of the Apes kind of film saga, I guess, it's like 6 movies that came out in the 60s and 70s, and they never explain where the apes come from. So having a movie that is a prequel that explains all that is just really neat, and having it all come about because of this small scale character just wanting his pet to be happy is awesome. And I really liked it. And Andy Serkis playing Caesar in all 3 movies, but especially in this one, since it was the first time they had done that with him, is just amazing. And I don't believe this is the first time I've seen a movie, and I remember seeing it, where I thought to myself, is that a puppet? Is that CGI, or is that a real monkey? And I actually genuinely thought that, which was, I mean, granted, I was 12 or 11, but it's interesting that was the case.
No, I agree. I think Circus, Rise is my second favorite in the trilogy. I think War's my least favorite, but like you said, they're all still just fantastic. The scene where Caesar finally speaks and he just says no is one of my favorite scenes. In filmmaking. It's
chilling. It's genuinely a chilling scene.
But yeah, I really love that. I'm going to flip this. What's your 2012 film of the year?
Why would you do that to me? Mine is 007 Skyfall.
Same.
Is it actually?
Yeah, genuinely.
I'm sure there will be some more that line up. Skyfall is the best James Bond movie, and I don't think you can convince me otherwise, which is a title that has been held by Goldfinger since... when did that movie come out?
92, I want to say.
Well, that's GoldenEye. Goldfinger came out in 64.
Oh, no, yeah.
And has been regarded...
mixed up.
Has been regarded as the best Bond film since 1964, and now people are saying that it's Skyfall. So it took however many years that is to top that, and it's awesome. And Skyfall is as close to a flawless Bond movie as I think you could possibly get while still keeping with the Bond tropes. And it was really neat. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. It's one that I keep going back to more so than the rest of the Craig era Bond movies, and I can't quit watching it.
No, I'm with you there. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. It kind of redefined the Bond genre in terms of the films that have followed it, because it triggered the first time that the Bond franchise has had a follow-through plotline.
Yes, which was neat. They've never done that before, and it's neat that they are, and hopefully we're going to get to see the end of that come No Time to Die, which would be really sick.
Come March time, so... in that case, I'm going to flip it on you yet again. What's your 2013? Come on.
2013 Snowpiercer with Chris Evans. I think it's one of those movies that it's another one of those that I always forget about and think, I forget that it exists. And then I watch it and I'm like, man, I forgot how much I love this movie. And I've seen it several times now. And it's just one of those that I have to keep watching to remind myself how much I love it. The acting is great, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some great twist in there. I mean, I know it's been 7 years, but I still don't want to spoil it. Some great twist in there. Definitely check it out if you haven't yet, because I know it's one that not as many people have seen. But it's like, if you took all those post-apocalyptic movies that are not post-apocalyptic, those like teen movies that were coming out at this time, like, your Hunger Games and Divergent and all those, if you took all of those and made one that was actually good, you'd get Snowpiercer.
Yeah, no, I love Snowpiercer. Like I said, no spoilers. I think that's a movie that if you go into blind, it vastly improves everything. And can you even talk about the basic premise of Snowpiercer without sort of ruining a bit of the mystery with it.
Oh, I say don't. Let's don't even talk about
No,
the plot.
okay. I won't talk about it, but there's, as well as like the twists and the acting, which is phenomenal, there's the action sequences in it. They're like
Oh, yes.
proto John Wick in how original and just well choreographed they are.
Yes, no, absolutely. I agree. It's a good movie, and you have to check it out. And it doesn't just have one of the good elements of a good movie, it's got all of them. And so, to me, that adds a lot to it. It's one of my favorite movies, probably, in terms of that kind of movie, that post, what's the term for it? Where it's like a post-apocalyptic rebellion type movie. I can't remember the word, but I'm blanking on it. But anyway, it's one of the best of that genre, for sure. Absolutely. So what's your 2013, Josh?
My 2013 is Prisoners. Have you ever seen it?
I have not. That one's new to me.
Okay, it's I can never pronounce his name. It's the dude who's doing the new Dune film, Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
I'm gonna keep on saying Villeneuve, no matter how culturally ignorant that is of me.
Banana new.
It's so the basic premise of it is Hugh Jackman's daughter goes missing, and it sparks a manhunt for her. And Jake Gyllenhaal he's the detective on the case, and basically Jackman suspects it's this one guy, and that one guy keeps on teasing Jackman, but to the rest of the world he seems innocent, and it's a thriller that I've seen once and I can't watch again because it is brutal in that it's so visceral and grounded in reality. Like, we speak about this a lot. It's not some world-defining event. It's literally just this one town, this one family, and this one daughter, and what her dad's willing to do. But it's not Punisher in that he goes out vigilante style, breaking kneecaps. It's just how sort of deteriorated a mindset can get when you're in that sort of situation. And it's gut-wrenching every way. I don't really want to say that much because, again, it's a film that it's better if you go into it blind, at least blind to the characters. The story itself is sort of inconsequential to it all, but it's fantastic. It's brutal, and it's what introduced me to the Dennis Vaudeville or whatever his name is.
Vince Vaughn Doom. That's his name. All right.
Vaughn? I didn't know he directed Prisons.
So you just gave your 2013 movie. I'm going to go ahead and hop on to 2014. John Wick is mine. We talked extensively about John Wick 3 last week. And the first one kicked it all off. It's such a simple story, and there's not a whole lot I can say about it beyond saying that it's as close to a perfect action movie as you're ever going to see. And it'll just make the little 13-year-old boy inside of you dance like a schoolgirl because you're just so excited to watch Keanu Reeves just mess some people up. And
yeah,
the two movies after it, John Wick 2 and John Wick 3, have expanded that world, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger, which is awesome. But the first one is such a small scale, interesting little story, and so it's one you got to watch it if you haven't. I can't spoil it even if I wanted to. There aren't really spoilers because it's more just Keanu Reeves just handing it to some people. So definitely check that one out if you haven't. What's your 2014, Josh?
2014 was a hard year to pick. There were so many amazing films. You had John Wick, you had Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but ultimately I ended up going with Grand Budapest Hotel.
Another great movie.
I love Wes Anderson. I think I haven't seen every movie he's done, but I've seen sort of a majority, and they're all just great. And the Grand Budapest Hotel in particular, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it is just kind of the style of the movie, but I think Ralph Fiennes is incredible. He's amazing. He is I say this a lot about it's all my movies, but every character and every actor is cast perfectly. There's no error. Everyone is who they need to be, and it is just fantastic. I don't want to spoil anything about it because there's really, again, it's not much to spoil. It's about this hotel and about a guy who works there and just his relationship with the people. But it's got the standard Wes Anderson style of filmmaking and writing that just it reaches entirely new heights. Plus, I've noticed a common theme here. Willem Dafoe is in both of our movies, therefore Willem Dafoe is the actor of the decade.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure if we looked through, he's in several of our movies. I'm sure we can find some crossover between them all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give my 2015 just to speed us along here a little bit. My 2015 is, of course, Mad Max Fury Road. It's
Should I say?
It's 2015, and you got to pick a best movie of the year. If it's not Mad Max Fury Road, there's something wrong with you.
No, absolutely. It just came out that that's Empire's film of the 21st century so far.
Which I think is a little early. We still got like 80 years left, but it's so good. I mean, I've said this about several movies on this list, but this one's the most true out of all of them. Mad Max Fury Road is as close to a perfect movie as is physically possible. Mad Max Fury Road may be a perfect movie.
There's not a scene wasted.
No, and there's not a scene in that movie where you look away. I mean, there's not that whole movie is so interesting that every single scene you're invested in, all the characters you love. It's just so good, and it's a rare thing where, you know, because it kind of spawned that whole bring back those 80s franchises instead of rebooting them or remaking them or spin-off, bring them back, use the same character and make a direct sequel. It kind of spawned that. And it's not quite a direct sequel, although they said it was. It feels almost remake-ish, but it's not, apparently. But it's so good, and
the way that I talk about it is the same way I talk about The Dark Knight. But with The Dark Knight, I always say, you know, people say the film's overrated a lot, and I always think, oh, maybe it is. And then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's still perfect.
Absolutely.
With this film, I never have the thought that it's overrated, because it's every scene is so beautiful in the shots, the cinematography, the choreography, the acting, the soundtrack. It is, like I said, it is about as close to a perfect movie as we've gotten this year.
I would say it is a perfect movie. I mean, I would go as far to say it's a perfect movie. The thing about it is, I don't think it's overrated because I don't think enough people are talking about this movie. I know it's been out for 5 years, but it's still so good. And it's one I really need to rewatch because I haven't in a while. But it's a beautiful little movie. And we got to move on, or we're just going to talk about Mad Max Fury Road for the rest of the episode. 2016. Why don't you go ahead and give yours, Josh?
Hot take. It's the Nice Guys.
I liked The Nice Guys. That was a really good movie.
It's Shane Black. It's Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe, and a cameo by none other than Robert Downey Jr. But yeah, I think Shane Black's got a really good way of dialogue. You can see it in this, in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's a nice buddy cop movie, and it was just refreshing in sort of an era of mass blockbuster to have just these two guys who don't like each other, but happen to be in the same line of work and just have to work with each other. Plus, it really showed off Ryan Gosling's sort of range as well as his comedic chops.
Yeah, that's what I remember walking away from that movie thinking is, man, Ryan Gosling is a lot funnier than I thought he was.
He really is.
Because I don't ever think of him as a comedy actor. The next three on my list, the next 3 years are all comic book movies because I figured I needed some on the list. And on what you were saying about how The Nice Guys was, I almost said The Nice Cast, about how The Nice Guys.
When I was reading it, I was thinking, don't say Nice Cast.
Shout out to Keith, who was on the podcast before. I remember you were talking about how it was refreshing to have a smaller scale buddy cop movie in this era of just, because from 2015 to now, it's just been like, all these movies are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. All the blockbusters are just like just exponentially exploding in terms of scale. And so the one I picked, it was a comic book movie. I put Doctor Strange on my list, Reason being, I think it's been the best MCU movie since Winter Soldier, I'd say. It was almost like a back to Phase 1 kind of movie, which was neat. It was a slightly more radical story, because all those Phase 1 movies, maybe outside of Thor, but even Thor was still very grounded and not too out there in terms of their subject matter and all that kind of stuff. And Doctor Strange was just like, all right, we're not doing that. We're going all out. But it was just this very character-driven, smaller movie, which for me was awesome to see in an era where we've got, the Avengers and these massive earth-shattering events. Doctor Strange was a bit of that, but at the same time, it was very character-driven. So that's why it made my 2016 list for best movie of 2016. Are you ready for your 2017, or have you given your 2016 yet? I can't remember.
My 2016 was the nice cast.
Ah, yes. 2017, what's your movie?
Well, okay. I kind of think that the next 3 years we might have the same movie.
Probably.
My 2017 is Logan.
Mine too. Mine as well.
Logan is... Everything that is great about Logan has been said over the last 3 years. It's beyond just being a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic send-off to a character that really, it was a situation that kind of hadn't been seen before.
Oh,
Hugh
yeah.
Jackman had played this character for 17 years straight. He was the Wolverine.
There's nothing else like this that's happened, because usually by that point, usually somebody plays a character for 15, 16, 17 years in movie. The movies have gotten sloppy to the point where people don't care anymore, or that person just gets canned with no send-off. So having this movie that's a send-off to an actor who's played a character for 17 years, and to have it be this quality and this good of a movie is something that we've never seen before. And I guess maybe have kind of seen since with Endgame. They did kind of the Logan thing with a lot of those characters, but even then it wasn't the same.
I was going to say, the closest approximation that you could make to this movie is Endgame, in that it was a send-off to some of these characters that have been with us for the better part of a decade. But even then, Logan was the better part of nearly 20 years. And
Right.
I think his movie works a bit more as a send-off because it was just him. It was a culmination of everything that we knew about this character so far, whereas Endgame's more of a culmination of the universe as it had been so far, with the characters as a side thought.
Right. Yeah. Maybe Crisis, kinda, but that even falls into the same Endgame thing. Because we did get some send-off for characters that we haven't seen in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but then that was just sloppily written. And so I don't think we'll never see another movie like Logan. And for that reason, it had to make my list.
It redefined comic book genre too, because without Logan, you wouldn't get, to a better degree, Deadpool, but without Logan, you wouldn't get some of the more R-rated blockbusters that we're starting to see become more and more prevalent.
Right. Well, Deadpool
because it proved that it can be fantastic.
Right. Deadpool did it, but when Deadpool did it, it was more like, okay, well, that's a very isolated thing. It works with this character. It won't work with anybody else. But then they pushed it, and they got it with Logan, and now we're seeing, yeah, this does work. The people who are watching these movies...
with Joker, with Birds of Prey,
right.
Even further with Deadpool in the future. But it was fantastic. What's your 2018? Because I'm curious about this one.
I don't know what you put for yours. I put Into the Spider-Verse. It's the only animated...
different films.
Oh, we did?
Close one.
Into the Spider-Verse is... it was great. Everything, once again, that I can say about it has already been said. I mean, it's a beautiful little movie. And I think everybody kind of expected it to be at least visually stunning when they went in to it because of the trailers and things, but I don't think anybody expected the movie itself to be as good as it was. And I always like to be surprised that way. I always like when a movie comes out that I'm expecting to just be okay, and it turns out to just blow me out of the water. And that's what happened with the Spider-Verse. And it was such a neat little film, and I'm glad I got to see it in theaters because it was a beautifully, beautifully animated movie. Very stylistic. Somehow meshed both 2D and 3D together in a way that, it was great. And it's getting a sequel, which is neat. The cast was great. The music was great. Everything about it was just really, really good. So what's yours, Josh?
Mine was a sort of tie again between this film and Into the Spider-Verse. And before I go into this film, I just want to say, Into the Spider-Verse was only just beaten out by like a millimeter because I love that film so much. Beyond being fantastically written, it's got technical levels that actually add to the filmmaking. Have you seen the stuff about Miles' frame rate compared to Peter's?
I have, yes. All that stuff is just...
So for those who don't know, basically, Miles' frame rate is written at half the speed of Peter's until the moment that he fully acknowledges himself as Spider-Man, where he becomes, the full 24 frames a second and moves a lot smoother. And it's tiny details like that are just so amazing. But my 2018 movie is Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh, that was almost mine. It was the toss-up between the two, and we just landed on different ones. Oh.
Yeah, I love this movie. It kind of reinvigorated my love for Mission Impossible, which at that point I still liked it. Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation I thought were still brilliant, but Fallout elevated it to another level. Particularly, in a big part it is because of Henry Cavill. The repertoire between him and Cruise is just great. The sort of two sides of an opposite coin dynamic that they had, again, absolutely amazing. Well worth it all.
And yeah, I can't say anything that you haven't said. Just made me love the Mission Impossible series all that much more. Got me back into it. It's like every time I think like I'm kind of done with Mission Impossible, movie comes out and it just ropes me back in. And I love all those movies. What a great saga. And they've been going on for almost 20 years now. That'll be the next thing. We'll get a Logan-style send-off for Tom Cruise's character in Mission Impossible. So I think we already know what the best movie of 2019 is, don't we, Josh?
Yeah, we both talked about it so much for the last few weeks, and I honestly can't think of a better film than Joker.
Yes. Why'd you do that? I was fully ready. Man. All right. Well, that's it. We got to end the podcast. We don't have any time to actually... No, it's Knives Out.
Count it out. The best three films of the decade are Joker, Joker 2, and Joker, the before one.
The Joker prequel?
The Joker prequel that's going to come out.
I give it... Who's going to play young Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker prequel?
River Phoenix. Oh, wait.
Josh.
I know, I feel bad. So 2019, best film of the year, Knives Out. We've talked about it so much for the last 3 weeks. It's a masterclass in how to do a new take on a genre, how to make a film, how to write characters, how to do twists, how to do a murder mystery, how to cinematography, soundtrack, everything is brilliant. We really can't speak enough about this film, and it's you have to go see it.
Yes, as soon as possible, check it out. You will not regret it. It is one of the best movies of the decade. It's in our top 10 list. So check out these movies if you haven't seen them already. I want to thank you for taking a chunk out of your day to just hang out with me and Josh and listen to this podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, if you want to rate it 5 stars and leave a review, that would be excellent. And if you're listening anywhere and want to share this with your pals, that would be great as well. Josh, go ahead and plug some stuff.
Well, you can contact us on Twitter at Josh and Dalton and tell us, hey, why were we wrong about all of these films? And why are we idiots for not choosing Joker as the best film of 2019? Talk to us there. You can talk to us both on Instagram at BritEdit and at Barrett.digital. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, all right. We will see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening to Semi Pro.
Peace out.